We're back here with character modeling, and we're going to move forward with shaping out the arm sockets before we extrude the arms out. So let's go ahead and come here into our front view and kind of take a look at our character. I've noticed that this is kind of slid down a little bit on my character anyways, so I'm going to make a few adjustments here, just grabbing the vertices and raising those up. Pulling them up into place a little bit. And we have some areas here with a little bit of finer edge on them than what we're getting right now. So I think we can make a couple of adjustments. I'm going to double click on these two lines right here, hit the R key and kind of scale them down together. So this is going to create a little bit of a hard edge on this one, and then we can widen that up just a little bit. And I think if we come out here and kind of take a look at that, we should start seeing a little bit more definition. And I think maybe we can even widen that out a little bit there. So starting to get a little bit of a fold here in the back, which is kind of nice, and defining this edge right here. All right, so just a little bit of detail starting to add in there. And I think the way we're going to do the arms a little bit differently, since we don't want to keep going back and forth, cutting the top off, detaching that or extracting it, and then cutting this in half, putting it back together, mirroring it over, and then reattaching it to the lower part. I think we're going to go ahead and shape out the arm socket using reflection. If we double click on the any of the tools over here, will open it up. Just double click on that to get the tool settings, and I'm going to scroll down to reflection and turn that on, and then close that down. So what this will allow us to do is select a vertice on one side. It's going to automatically select on the opposite side, and if I move that now, it should be in one, we'll get the identical movement over here on the opposite side. So working with Symmetry on, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of shape this arm socket up, pulling these into place. This is starting to round out the area a little bit. And I think we can probably pull this out some. Same thing here on the back. And perhaps pull this out here for a little bit more of an edge on the shoulder. And I think some of these points are maybe just a little too high. He has a little bit more of a slope to the shoulders. Push that in a little bit more, and I think raise that up. Okay. All right. So just widening out the back a little bit more. Okay, so that's starting to look pretty good. So we've got kind of an area here that's rounding out to be the sleeve. Got the same thing happening on the other side over here. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is select the faces. And we're going to go ahead and detach that. It's not going to extrude an edge out the way we would like it to. It's only going to just shape those areas in kind of component mode. So we're just going to work with one arm, and then once we're done, we'll duplicate special that over to the other side and reattach it. But what it's done is it's created the same identical opening here for the arm that we want, that we have on this side, so we'll be able to attach it much more easily without having to mirror it over. and cut the shirt up. So let's go ahead and under mesh, let's extract that. So we've got a separate piece now that we can start extruding from. I'm going to come down here and kind of check the shape first, see how we're doing. And I think we can probably start from here. And I've put an extrude out here on my shelf. It's under Edit Mesh. You'll just hold down the Control and Shift key. It's the top one up here, so go ahead and add that to your shelf. So with those faces selected, I'm going to choose that. And right now we're in local mode, so what I want to do is click on this little blue circle right here. It's going to center it up here, the world, and I'm going to pull it out slightly and kind of come back here, and I think we're going to have to do a little bit of adjusting. So I'm going to activate the scale tool, scale it down, raise that up. And you can see we're a little bit off over here, so I'm going to actually grab all of this again and raise it up. Just making a few adjustments. Spacing these out a little bit more evenly. All right. Actually, we've got a hard edge right here that we could probably create by pushing this one down, so we get that kind of nice little division right here. And maybe just go ahead and scale it out a little bit. So if we come out here, we should be able to see that now. You can see it kind of puckering right there where the belly starts. Probably exaggerate that more next couple of videos. So some of these points right here, I don't think they're quite where they need to be. So let's go ahead and pull these up. And symmetry is still on, so we're getting the shape over here, and then we'll just snap the vertices of these to match. We will have them lined up as we need them. Okay, so grabbing this now, I'm going to hold down the V key. You'll see that change to a circle, and then I'm just going to grab the center and snap it up to the other one so it lines up. And we may need to do the same right here. Just pull these up a little higher. Grab this one, hold the V key down, snap it up. Okay, so probably a little bit closer. I don't quite have that little edge there that I'm trying to achieve. So let's grab this whole group right here and kind of shift it back. See if we can kind of get this working. And we'll probably come back in, kind of exaggerate that little edge right there to get that fold in the shoulder that we want. It's sort of a seam that we're after. Okay, grabbing these right here, pulling them up. And this side is shaping up as well. Okay. And I think some of these lower ones right here we could probably grab as well. So I'm going to just drag a marquee around them and do them one at a time. All right, let's check here. That's looking a little better. I think what we can do is come out here and select the faces. And actually come here and turn reflection off, close that off, and go back to object mode on here and then select the faces and scale these a little bit more and raise them up. So if we come back here and look at our arm now, we should be lined up a little bit better. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and scale them like this to kind of flatten them out. You can see how that kind of cleaned up our edge right there, our edge flow. All right, so I'm probably going to come back in here and insert an edge loop to create this little pucker right here, and we will need a little bit more resolution to create this bend that we have, this contour. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out to about here and continue on with extruding. So the arm isn't completely straight, it kind of angles down slightly, which I don't want to do. The reason being is if we use Human IK to set up a rig for this, which we're most likely going to do, we're going to want this arm coming completely straight across. We're going to want this arm coming out exactly in a T-pose, straight across, and not angling down like it is here in the drawing. That way the Human IK will work for us. It doesn't like having angles put in. So I'm dragging that down to the elbow. And I'll go ahead and insert a division right there just to shape that up in a moment. And we're going to extrude again, center it on world space, bring it out to this point here. I'm going to add a division, and I'm also going to start scaling it up a little bit for the forearm. And bring this down to here. Actually, we can probably take it all the way down here and scale it up and drop it down like this. Kind of keeping the top part flat and the bottom part of the sleeve sort of hanging down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to get out of that mode, hit Q on the keyboard to complete that. I want to insert an edge loop right here so I can create the little... I'm going to insert an edge loop along here to create the cuff. So that's another thing we can put out on our shelf. So let's come down and grab Insert Edge Loop, holding down Shift and Control. Drop that out there. So I'm going to hit that and drop that in here and that process. And I think I want to shape this a little bit more. I want to scale this in a little for the elbow. And we taper that in a little bit like that. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to grab the faces along here in the center with the marquee and extrude that. Let's come back out here to our perspective view and we can pull that out. I think even better than that, we could probably just create thickness, 0.1 thickness. That'll look a little bit better. And go ahead and add a division in there. Actually, put in 2 divisions and hold it in position right there. We'll add another edge loop right there to hold that. Okay, so let's come back here and select the faces. We don't need those anymore. We can just delete them. So let's go ahead and add an edge loop right here to hold this edge together. So right there, we'll need one right here as well, and another one right there on the edge of the cuff. Okay, so let's come back in here, insert another edge loop, And this is where we can probably grab these faces right here on the top and pull those up, out a little bit. And we'll need to attach these still. Let's go ahead and attach it. Let's go ahead and, before we do that, we're going to copy this over and make sure this is kind of the shape that I'm after. So it's feeling a little chunky to me. I might need to scale a few areas down here. So I might go ahead and just grab all the vertices from this point and scale them down overall. Just making it a little thinner and moving these back out so we've got the correct length there. We want our joint to be in the proper place. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better, I think. All right, go back to object mode. Come back out here, take a look at that. So I think that's working nicely. Let's go ahead and hit 3 on the keyboard for both of these and kind of see what they look like smoothed. Okay, so maybe add a little bit of detail back here. Let's go back to 1 on the keyboard. And I think I want to add like a little area out here that might sort of stick out for the elbow. So inserting a couple edge loops, I'm going to grab the faces and just extrude those, center it, scale it in, and just kind of push that out. And then I want to grab that center vertice right there and pull that out a little bit more. And we can do the same probably with these 2 right here. There we go. Let's go back to object mode, hit 3 on the keyboard and take a look at that. So that gives us a little detail back there on the elbow. That's kind of nice. And I think if we want to add some wrinkles right here, we can go ahead and do that now before we copy it over. So we're going to use, probably a good time to save. Go ahead and save the scene right there. Let's go ahead and add the interactive split tool out on the shelf. Okay, so I've got that. And go back to 1 on the keyboard. So I want to add a couple of wrinkles along the elbow here. So I'm going to start back here. And finish it off right there. Enter on the keyboard. So that's created a triangle. Probably going to move this edge up just a little bit, as well as this one, kind of pull that. And then with the insert edge loop tool, I'm just going to drop in an edge right there. It's going to turn these into quads, triangles that we had made. And W on the keyboard, and I'm just going to kind of push that in a little bit. That's going to create a wrinkle. Okay, we can do the same thing over here, kind of repeat that process. The insert edge loop, the split polygon tool. Ending it right there. Grabbing this edge, moving it down a little bit. Just creating a little bit more space for our edge. that we're going to insert right here. And W on the keyboard and kind of push that in right there. Okay, so we can even grab these couple of little edges right here and push them in as well. And I want to get a little fancier there. So make sure you've got those deselected. Scale these in a little bit. There we go. So let's hit 3 on the keyboard, see what that looks like. Okay, so we got a little detail around there that will look nice. Okay, so I think we're done here as far as the arm is concerned. Let's go back to 1 on the keyboard for both of these. Save that again. And let's go ahead and duplicate special this over before we attach it. So with this selected, I'm going to hit W on the keyboard, and you can see down here that our pivot point is where it needs to be. It's at the origin, and that's where it needs to be to use duplicate special. So I've got a lot of history running on here that I want to get rid of, so I'm going to delete the history first. And another thing we can put out here on we don't really need it here because the transforms haven't been moved. But let's go ahead and just drop that out on our shelf. So under Modify, Freeze Transformations, I'm going to add that out there. And that's something I typically do before I copy it over. I want to freeze the transformations on it. In this case, we didn't need to because it hadn't been translated. So with that in place, let's come under Edit, Duplicate Special, Option Box. I'm going to click on that option box as I'm holding down Control and Shift. I'm going to drop that out on the shelf as well. Open that up, and under Scale, we've got X, Y, and Z. So Scale X needs to be -1, and it's going to copy it over. So we'll just duplicate that over. And we've got her arm over there, and we still need to attach them. I think for now, that's probably a good ending point. This video is running a little bit long, so in the next lesson we'll start, we'll come back and attach those and maybe create some buttons and move on from there, detailing out the rest of the shirt. We'll do that in the next lesson.